crossed this country 1,000 times. New York to LA, Seattle to Miami, and everything in between. 18 wheels beneath me, the constant hum of tires on asphalt, and the familiar vibration of my rig's engine. These things used to define me. The open road was my sanctuary, my escape from a world that never understood men like me. But now, the road is my prison, and the nights, especially when the moon swells fat and silver in the sky, are when my sentence is carried out. My name is Ray Caldwell. I'm 43 years old, and for 22 years, I've been hauling freight across the United States. For the past 3 of those years, I've also been a monster. The first rays of sunset filter through my windshield as I pull into the truck stop just outside Albany. My knuckles are white against the steering wheel, and I've been counting the days in my head. 3 until the full moon. Not enough time. My dispatcher had called this morning. "Ray, we need you to take a load into Manhattan. Delivery Friday morning at the distribution center in the Bronx." Friday. Full moon. In the heart of one of the most densely populated cities in America. "Can't do it, Jerry," I'd said, my voice strained even to my own ears. "Got some medical issues I need to take care of upstate." "Ray." Jerry's voice had dropped to that patronizing tone I'd come to hate. "This is the 3rd delivery you've ducked this month." Management's starting to ask questions. "You were our most reliable driver for 2 decades. What's going on with you, man?" What could I tell him? That on the night of the full moon, I shed my humanity like a snake sheds its skin? That my bones break and reform? That my muscles tear and rebuild themselves in configurations that no human was meant to endure? That I wake up with a taste of blood in my mouth and memories that no man should have to carry? "I'll take the load," I finally said, defeat heavy in my voice. "But I need to be out of the city before nightfall on Friday." I'd check into a motel room for the night. Cheap place, thin walls. I can hear the couple next door arguing about money. The smell of cigarettes and desperation seeps through the ventilation system. I shower under lukewarm water, watching the road grime circle the drain. The mirror shows me what I already know. I'm changing. Already. 3 days out, and it's starting. My eyes have a yellowish tint around the irises. The veins in my forearms are more pronounced, pushing against my skin like they're trying to escape. I run my tongue over my teeth. Still normal, but they ache, like they do before a cavity forms. Early warning signs I've learned to recognize. I sit on the bed and pull out my logbook, but instead of recording my hours, I flip to the back pages where I keep my other record, a different kind of logbook. Towns, dates, and notes. Brief entries that tell a story I wish was fiction. Durkee, Oregon. June 15th, woods 5 miles south of truck stop. Deer? Not sure. Rock Springs, Wyoming. July 13th, abandoned warehouse district. Homeless man, God forgive me. Altoona, Pennsylvania, August 12. Rural area, no witnesses. Livestock. Saratoga Springs, NY. September 10. Broke free of restraints. Woke up 3 miles from cabin. Blood. No reports of missing persons. Harrisburg, PA. October 9. Chains held. Self-inflicted wounds only. Last month, I thought I had it under control. I'd found an abandoned hunting cabin deep in the Adirondacks. Triple-checked the chains. Took enough tranquilizers to put down a horse. Still woke up with the door splintered and a memory like a fever dream, running through the forest. Something warm and struggling in my jaws. But no news reports followed. No missing hikers or mutilated bodies discovered. I'd been checking obsessively, the way you probe a sore tooth with your tongue, unable to leave it alone despite the pain. Maybe there was nothing to report. Maybe I just dreamed it all. That's what I tell myself, knowing it's a lie. Morning comes, and with it the familiar routine. Check out, fuel up, coffee, black, hit the road. I-87 stretches before me, and I settle into the rhythm of the drive. My load is pharmaceuticals, high-value stuff heading for a distribution center in the Bronx. The manifest says it's insulin and heart medication, essential shipments. Lives depend on freight like this getting where it needs to go. That's what I keep telling myself as I edge closer to New York City. I'm needed. The load is important. One more day until the full moon. I can drop the shipment in the morning and be out of the city before nightfall. It'll be fine. The radio crackles with traffic updates. Accident on the Cross Bronx Expressway. Delays expected. My hands tighten on the wheel. Delays are the enemy now. As I drive, the changes accelerate. My skin feels too tight, like a shirt that's been shrunk in the wash. My senses sharpen, the smell of diesel and asphalt almost overwhelming, the sound of my tires on the road painfully loud. I can taste the pollution in the air as I near the city, metallic and bitter on my tongue. I crack the window, hoping the rush of air will help clear my head. Instead, it brings a wave of scents. Fast food, exhaust, the Hudson River, and beneath it all the smell of humanity. Millions of people, packed together. The predator in me stirs at the thought, and I quickly roll the window back up, breathing through my mouth. By the time I reach the New York State Thruway, my forearms are covered in coarse, dark hair that wasn't there this morning. I wear a long-sleeved flannel despite the heat, but I know it's not enough. Anyone looking closely would see what I've become. Something caught between worlds. I pull into a rest area and lock myself in a bathroom stall. My reflection in the polished metal mirror is distorted, but not enough to hide the truth. My face is changing, the bones shifting subtly beneath the skin. My jaw feels heavy, my teeth too large for my mouth. I pop 3 of the pills I keep for emergencies. Black market tranquilizers strong enough to sedate large animals. They dull the transformation, slow it down, but they can't stop it completely. Nothing can. I've tried everything from silver chains to experimental drugs. Once the change begins, it must run its course. Back in my truck, I call Jerry. I'm hitting traffic, I tell him, my voice rougher than usual. Might not make the delivery window tomorrow morning. That's not going to work, Ray, Jerry says, irritation clear even through the phone. This client specifically requested you because of your perfect delivery record. They've got patients waiting on this shipment. You need to be there at 7 a.m. sharp. I understand, I say, though he doesn't. He can't. I'll do my best. Do better than your best, Jerry snaps before hanging up. I eye the sky through my windshield. The sun is high now, but in less than 24 hours, the moon will rise, full and bright and merciless. The traffic into the city is worse than expected. Construction on the bridge, an overturned car on the expressway, the usual chaos of New York magnified through my heightened senses. By the time I reach my designated overnight lot in the Bronx, it's already evening. The security guard barely glances at my paperwork as he waves me through. I park in the back corner of the lot, as far from the other trucks as possible. My skin is burning now as if I've got a fever of 105. The hair on my arms and chest has become a pelt, and I can feel my face continuing its gradual reshaping. I check my watch. 7:30 p.m. Delivery at 7 a.m. Moonrise tomorrow at approximately 6:42 p.m. according to the weather app on my phone. 11 hours to make my delivery and get as far from civilization as possible. I should sleep, conserve my strength, but sleep is impossible. Instead, I lie in the cab's bunk, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the city that never sleeps. Car horns, distant sirens, the rumble of the subway, and underneath it all the heartbeat of 8 million people. I must have dozed off eventually because I jerk awake to my alarm at 5 a.m. For a moment I'm disoriented, not recognizing my own hands gripping the thin blanket. They gnarled, the fingers shorter and thicker than they should be, the nails yellowed and curved. The transformation is accelerating. I dress carefully, loose clothing to accommodate my changing form, a cap pulled low over my increasingly inhuman eyes, gloves to hide my hands. In the side mirror, I catch a glimpse of myself and quickly look away. The face looking back is only partly mine now. The distribution center is a hive of activity when I arrive. Forklifts beeping, workers shouting to each other, trucks being loaded and unloaded. I back my rig up to the designated dock with practiced precision that belies the tremors in my hands. A dock worker approaches with a clipboard. He's young, probably in his 20s, with a name tag that reads, Miguel. "Morning," he says cheerfully. "Got paperwork for me?" I keep my head down as I hand over the manifest, careful to keep my gloved hands in shadow. "You okay, man?" Miguel asks, peering at me with concern. "You don't look so good." "Just fighting something off," I mumble, my voice a raspy approximation of its normal tone. "Probably shouldn't get too close." Miguel takes a step back. "Yeah, no problem. I'll get this unloaded for you right away." I wait in the cab while they unload the pharmaceuticals, counting the minutes. 7:43 a.m. Over 10 hours until moonrise. Plenty of time to get out of the city, to find somewhere remote. The Catskills, maybe. There are wilderness areas there where I might not encounter anyone. The unloading takes longer than expected. A problem with the inventory system, Miguel explains apologetically. Computer glitch. They need to verify every crate manually. 9:30 a.m. Still plenty of time. 10:45 a.m. The unloading is finally complete. I sign the electronic delivery confirmation with a stylus that threatens to snap between my strengthening fingers. I'm just starting the engine when my phone rings. It's Jerry. "Ray," he says, and something in his tone makes my blood run cold. "Got an emergency situation. The distributor in Jersey City lost their power. Refrigeration systems are down. They've got a warehouse full of temperature-sensitive meds that need to be moved ASAP." "Not me," I say immediately. "I can't, Jerry. I told you I need to be out of the city by tonight." "Ray, listen to me carefully." Jerry's voice hardens. "This is coming from the CEO himself. The company that owns both distributors is our biggest client. They specifically asked for you. I don't know what doctor's appointment or hot date you've got planned, but it's going to have to wait. This is a matter of life and death." Literally, the irony of his words isn't lost on me. "I can't do it," I repeat, desperation creeping into my voice. "You don't understand." "No, you don't understand," Jerry cuts me off. "Either you take this load or you're fired. End of story. And I'll make sure every other trucking company in the Northeast knows why." The threat hangs between us. This job is all I have left, the only structure in my life, the only thing that gives me purpose between the full moons. "Where's the pickup?" I ask, defeat heavy in my voice. The Jersey City warehouse is chaos when I arrive. The power outage has affected the entire block, and they're loading temperature-sensitive medications into any refrigerated truck they can find. The heat is oppressive. The air thick with humidity and desperation. I'm assigned to take a load of biologics to a hospital in Manhattan. Urgent medicine, they tell me. Can't be delayed. I check my watch as they load my trailer. 2:17 p.m. The sun is high and bright, but I can feel the moon already, tugging at my blood, at whatever cursed part of me responds to its call. Traffic back into the city is gridlocked. An accident in the Holland Tunnel has reduced it to one lane. I sit in my cab, watching the minutes tick by, feeling the change's progress. My shoulders are broadening, straining against my shirt. My jaw aches constantly now, teeth shifting and expanding in my mouth. 3:46 p.m., finally through the tunnel, still caught in Manhattan traffic. The hospital is uptown, near Columbia University Medical Center. Mile after agonizing mile of stop-and-go traffic stretches before me. 4:50 p.m. I reach the hospital loading dock. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely steer. The hospital staff notices my condition and assumes I'm ill. They keep their distance as they quickly unload the precious cargo. 5:23 p.m. Empty trailer, free to go. But go where? The sun is already starting to dip toward the horizon. Manhattan traffic will keep me trapped on this island for at least another hour, probably more. Even if I could get out of the city, I wouldn't make it to anywhere remote enough in time. I need a place to contain myself, somewhere no one will find me, somewhere I can't hurt anyone. In desperation, I drive to an industrial area on the west side, near the old shipping piers. There are abandoned warehouses here, relics from a time before the city's gentrification reached this far. I find one with a loading bay large enough for my truck and broken windows covered with corrugated metal. I back my rig into the cavernous space, the trailer blocking the entrance. Then I climb into the trailer and use a crowbar from my emergency kit to jam the door mechanism from the inside. It won't hold against the full strength of the beast I'm becoming, but it might slow it down. Inside the empty trailer, I strip off my clothes, my skin burning now, bones shifting audibly. I've brought my chains, I always have them with me, and I secure myself as best I can to the metal bracings inside the trailer. 6:30 p.m. The light outside is fading. I can feel the moon rising even though I can't see it. My body convulses, the first of the major transformations beginning. I bite down on a leather belt to keep from screaming as my spine elongates, vertebrae popping and cracking. My last coherent thought is a prayer that the chains will hold, that my prison of steel will contain the beast until morning. Then the pain crests, and I am lost. Fragments of awareness come and go throughout the night, the taste of blood as I bite through my own tongue, the sound of chains straining against metal fixtures, the smell of fear, my own, acrid and sharp, and hunger, always the hunger. I remember throwing myself against the walls of the trailer, over and over, mindless in my rage, the metal denting outward with each impact, the chains breaking, link by link. I remember the moment the doors gave way, splintering outward in a shower of rusted metal. I remember running, a blur of shadows and gleaming eyes in the dark corners of the city. And I remember hunting. I wake to the sound of rain pattering on metal. I'm naked, curled on the filthy floor of the warehouse, blood crusted around my mouth and under my fingernails. Human again, but marked by what I've done. My truck is still there, the trailer doors hanging from broken hinges. The chains lie in scattered pieces around the warehouse floor. With trembling hands, I reach for my phone, dreading what I might find in the news. But the screen is shattered, the battery dead. I find clothes in my duffel bag. They smell of diesel and sweat, but they'll cover me. My limbs are weak, shaking with the aftermath of the transformation. Bruises model my skin where the chains bit into me, where I threw myself against unyielding surfaces. Outside, it's early morning. The rain has driven most people indoors, but a few hardy souls hurry along the streets under umbrellas. None of them give me a second look. Just another disheveled man in a city full of them. I stumble to a convenience store and buy a cheap prepaid phone and a newspaper. The headlines are dominated by a single story. Beast of New York strikes again. 3 dead in Riverside Park. My legs nearly give out. I stagger to a nearby bench and force myself to read the article. 3 joggers found mauled in the pre-dawn hours. Witnesses report seeing a large animal fleeing the scene. Police suspect it may be the same creature responsible for similar attacks in Central Park last month. When I was safely upstate. I'm not the only one. The realization hits me like a physical blow. There's another like me in New York. Maybe more than one. For a moment, relief washes over me. Maybe I didn't kill anyone last night, but even as I think it, I taste phantom blood in my mouth. Feel the memory of flesh giving way beneath claws and teeth. I know with sickening certainty that I hunted last night too. The evidence is on my hands, under my nails, in the copper taste that lingers on my tongue. I spend the day repairing my truck as best I can. The trailer doors are beyond my ability to fix, but I secure them with ropes and hope no one looks too closely. I need to get out of the city, to go somewhere I can think, somewhere I can try to piece together what happened. As I work, I listen to news radio. The attacks are the only story anyone cares about. Experts being interviewed, speculation about escaped zoo animals or exotic pets, the mayor promising increased police patrols in city parks, and then a detail that makes my blood freeze. Police are particularly interested in reviewing security footage from the Riverside area, including traffic cameras that may have captured vehicles entering or leaving the vicinity around the time of the attacks. Cameras. My truck. The distinctive company logo painted on the trailer. It won't take them long to track me down. I finish the repairs faster than I should. Visibility be damned. I need to move. I'm just climbing into the cab when my new phone rings. It's Jerry. "Where the hell are you, Ray?" he demands without preamble. The hospital called. Said you made the delivery yesterday but never submitted the paperwork. You're not answering your regular phone. The trailer's GPS shows you haven't moved in almost 18 hours. I got sick, I say, the lie coming easily now. Food poisoning or something. Been laid up in the truck. Well, get unlaid, Jerry snaps. I've got another load for you. Pick up in Brooklyn, delivery to Boston. And Ray? Yeah, don't screw this up, last chance. The line goes dead. I sit there, the key in the ignition, staring at nothing. Last chance. But the decision has already been made for me. I start the engine and pull out of the warehouse. But instead of heading toward Brooklyn, I turn north toward the George Washington Bridge, toward the open road. I don't know if I killed last night. I don't know if there are others like me in this city, or if I'm truly alone in my curse. All I know is that I can't stay here. Can't risk another night in a place where people are packed together like cattle waiting for slaughter. The open road has always been my sanctuary. Now, it's my only hope for salvation, not for me, but for those I might harm. As I cross the bridge, leaving New York behind, I glance in my rearview mirror. Police cars with flashing lights are heading into the city, toward the scene of last night's attacks, toward the evidence I may have left behind. They'll find my DNA eventually. They'll link it to other attacks, other nights when the moon was full and I was on the road. They'll hunt me, the way I've hunted others. It's only a matter of time. But for now, I drive. The road stretches before me, 18 wheels humming on asphalt, the familiar vibration of my rig's engine beneath me. These things used to define me. Now they're just the background noise to the monster I've become. The next full moon is 28 days away. I've got a tank full of diesel, an open highway, and nowhere to go but away. It'll have to be enough. The dead don't mind what I am. That's the beautiful irony of my profession. 8 hours a day, I prepare those who've departed for their final rest. Hands steady as I drain fluids, fill cavities, and restore features. My colleagues at Manhattan Memorial Mortuary praise my skill, my attention to detail, my ability to make the dead appear merely asleep. They don't know I can smell death 3 days before it arrives. Tonight, as I slice into Mr. Abernathy's carotid artery, the full moon pulls at something beneath my skin. 3 more nights until the change. My hands tremble slightly, and I breathe through my mouth to dampen the intoxicating copper tang of day-old blood. Even embalmed bodies call to me this close to the turning. Taking your time tonight, Marcus? Lisa asks, poking her head into my preparation room. She's the night receptionist, handling late-night grief with practiced sympathy and black coffee. I don't look up. Ruptured aorta, car accident, challenging restoration. Short sentences help when the beast stirs. Fewer words mean fewer chances for my voice to betray the growl building in my chest. Well, don't stay too late. You've been pulling doubles all week. Her concern is genuine. That's what makes it dangerous. When the door clicks shut, I exhale and roll my shoulders. The familiar ache spreads across my shoulder blades, the first warning sign of bones preparing to break and reform. I've worked at Manhattan Memorial for almost 4 years now. 4 years of carefully planned shifts around lunar cycles. 4 years of explaining away monthly sick days as chronic migraines. 4 years of letting people assume my preference for night shifts stems from insomnia rather than necessity. Mr. Abernathy's pale face stares at the ceiling, accusatory in its stillness. I finish my work quickly, sewing him closed with practiced precision before washing my hands. The soap never quite removes the smell of formaldehyde and decay from my skin, but I've come to appreciate how it masks my own scent from others of my kind. There aren't many in New York, but we exist. Urban predators are more adaptable than folklore suggests. The subway ride to my Brooklyn apartment is torturous this close to the moon. Every heartbeat around me thunders in my ears. A woman's perfume 3 cars down makes my eyes water. A homeless man's unwashed body triggers both disgust and hunger in equal measure. I grip the handrail tighter, claws threatening to extend beneath my nails. My phone buzzes. A text from Dr. Kiernan, the funeral home's director. Need you to come in tomorrow for the Levinson preparation, high-profile case. Mayor's office watching. I type back. Will be there. Then add, but taking my 3 days after that. Migraines. His response is immediate. Fine. Just make Levinson perfect. Perfect. I almost laugh. The irony of making the dead look perfect while fighting to keep my own monstrous nature hidden isn't lost on me. But the mortuary is the perfect cover. Who better to handle the dead than someone intimately acquainted with death? Who better to spot minute details of livor mortis and tissue degradation than someone whose senses can detect a rabbit's heartbeat from 50 yards? I exit at my stop and walk the 5 blocks to my building. A pre-war walk-up with peeling paint and solid concrete walls. I chose it specifically for those walls, thick enough to muffle screams. Mine, or others, the Levinson case. As I stand over the body the next evening, I understand Kiernan's concern. Alexandra Levinson, 32, daughter of State Senator William Levinson, found in Central Park with her throat torn out. The official report says, animal attack. The newspapers have been more specific. Wolf-like predator loose in Manhattan. They're wrong, of course. This wasn't done by what they think of as a wolf. I know the signs, the precision of the wounds, the specific arteries targeted, the almost surgical removal of the liver. This wasn't a feral animal seeking sustenance. This was one of us. I worked methodically, repairing what can be repaired, concealing what cannot. Her father wants an open casket, and I'll make it happen. That's my gift. But as I work, I catch a scent that makes my hands freeze mid-suture. Beneath the antiseptic wash applied by the morgue, beneath the lingering forest soil and blood, there's another smell, familiar, intimate. I know who killed her. The realization makes my blood run cold, even as the beast within me stirs in recognition. Michael. I haven't spoken his name in almost 2 years. Not since that night in the Adirondacks when he promised to leave my territory. Not since I showed him what happens to those who challenge me on my own hunting grounds. Yet here is his signature kill, delivered like a calling card to my workplace, to my table. My phone buzzes again. Unknown number. The text reads, "Miss me, Marcus? We should catch up. Full moon's coming." I drop the needle and thread, bracing myself against the preparation table. 2 nights until the change, and now this. A challenger. A threat. The dead woman on my table suddenly seems to smile knowingly, though I know it's just muscle relaxation. Still, the message is clear. Michael hasn't forgotten. Michael hasn't forgiven. And Michael knows exactly where to find me. I finish Alexandra Levinson's preparation an hour before dawn, having worked through the night with mechanical precision. Her father will be satisfied. The mortician's art is transformation, making the ravaged appear whole, the deceased appear peaceful. As I lock up the mortuary, the eastern sky shows the first hint of gray. New York never truly sleeps, but it does quiet somewhat in these liminal hours. Delivery trucks rumble past. Early shift workers trudge towards subway entrances. I catch 1,000 human scents, each telling a story. Illness, health, fear, desire, and something else. A musky, wild scent that doesn't belong among the urban smells. He's been here, watching. I pick up my pace, scanning rooftops and alleyways. The beast inside me wants to respond to the challenge, to throw back my head and howl defiance, but the human part knows better. Not here, not now, not with the city awakening around me. My apartment feels violated when I return. Though nothing is visibly disturbed, he hasn't entered. The deadbolts and reinforced door frame have held. But he's been outside, scent marking the hallway in ways only I would detect. Territorial, threatening. I double-check my preparations for the coming change. The basement storage room I've rented and reinforced. The chains bolted into concrete. The raw meat in the freezer that might satisfy the hunger enough to prevent a hunt. Then I sleep, fitfully, dreaming of blood and forest floors and Alexandra Levinson's knowing smile. The night before the full moon is always the worst. The anticipation, The pre-change symptoms that no amount of medication can alleviate. Bones that ache from the inside out, teeth that feel too large for my mouth, hearing so sensitive that the neighbor's television 3 floors up sounds like it's playing in my bedroom. I call in sick to work, as I always do before the change. Dr. Kiernan is understanding. I built up enough goodwill with my willingness to take holiday shifts and difficult cases that my monthly migraines are accepted without question. The Levinson viewing is set for next week, he tells me. Excellent work as always. Thank you, I manage, trying to sound normal despite the feeling that my vocal cords are being stretched on a rack. I'll be back in a few days. Rest up. Oh, and Marcus? A colleague of yours stopped by. Said he knew you from upstate. Michael something? I told him you were out sick. My blood freezes. What did he want? Just to catch up, he said. Left his card if you want to call him. The business card Kiernan texts me is blank, except for a phone number and an address in Hell's Kitchen. It's a taunt, not an invitation. Michael letting me know he can get close to the people in my life. I spend the rest of the day in a haze of pain and rage, my thoughts oscillating between human strategic planning and increasingly primal urges for violence. By nightfall, I can barely walk upright as I make my way to my basement room, every joint screaming in protest against its coming reconfiguration. The thick steel door closes behind me with a satisfying clang. I engage the 3 deadbolts, 2 external, 1 internal, and begin removing my clothes. They won't survive the transformation. Nothing human ever does. I'm halfway through chaining myself to the reinforced wall when I smell it. Fresh blood. Human blood. Close. My head snaps up, nostrils flaring. Impossible. This room is sealed, soundproofed, secured. Then I see it. A small metal ventilation duct near the ceiling, its grate removed, and dripping slowly from the opening, a thick crimson trail. He's brought me a gift. Or a trap. The first spasm hits before I can decide which. My spine arches violently, vertebrae popping like firecrackers as they realign. I fall to my knees, half-chained as my jaw dislocates with an audible crack. Through tears of pain, I watch my fingernails split and fall away as black claws emerge from the bleeding nail beds. The transformation is never clean, never magical. Its biology perverted. Anatomy stretched beyond its limits. Tendons snap, skin tears. For agonizing minutes that feel like hours, I am neither human nor wolf, but something broken between worlds. And all the while, the scent of blood grows stronger, pulling at instincts I cannot control during the change. When consciousness returns fully, I am changed. Massive. Furred. The chains that should hold me have been torn from the wall in my frenzy. The room reeks of blood, both mine from the transformation and the unknown source from the vent. I stand on hind legs nearly 8 feet tall in this form and reach for the ventilation duct. My clawed hand comes back red. The smell is intoxicating, overwhelming my last shreds of human reason. The steel door, designed to keep me in, now feels like it's keeping me from something I need. I throw my weight against it once, twice, leaving deep dents in the metal. On the third impact, the frame gives way, screws tearing from concrete. I am loose in New York City on the night of the full moon, and I am following a blood trail. The city is a symphony of scents, overwhelming in my transformed state. Garbage and gasoline, thousands of humans and their food and waste and desires, the trees in the parks struggling for life amid concrete, all of it assaults my consciousness. But cutting through it all is the deliberate trail laid for me to follow. I keep to shadows, to rooftops where possible, moving with a predator's silence despite my size. The few humans who glimpse me dismiss the sight as a trick of moonlight or too many drinks. New Yorkers are practiced at ignoring the impossible. The trail leads to Hell's Kitchen, to the address on Michael's card. An abandoned meatpacking plant, how fitting. The irony would amuse my human mind, but that part of me is submerged now beneath more primal concerns. Threat, territory, dominance. I smell him before I see him. Michael. Changed. Like me. Waiting on the building's roof, silhouetted against the full moon like some gothic cliché. "Marcus!" he growls, his transformed voice a rasp of gravel and rage. He's smaller than me, but leaner, built for speed rather than power. "You look well. The mortuary business must agree with you." I snarl in response, words difficult in this form. "You killed the woman. The senator's daughter?" His muzzle pulls back in what might be a smile or a threat display. "Consider it a professional courtesy, bringing you business." I lunge forward, but he dances back with unnatural grace. "Not yet," he growls. "Don't you want to know why I'm here?" "Territory," I manage to rumble. "My city." Michael laughs, a chilling sound from a werewolf's throat. "Your city?" "No, Marcus. I'm not here to take New York from you. I'm here because of what you've become. A mortician, living off the already dead? You're disgrace to what we are." The accusation hits harder than it should. It's true that I haven't hunted, truly hunted, in years. The mortuary gives me proximity to death without the need to cause it. It's the compromise I've made with myself, the way I balance the human and the beast. "We are predators," Michael continues, circling me now. "The apex. And you're content to be, what, a glorified taxidermist? You're denying your nature, Marcus, becoming less." "I'm controlling it," I growl back. "You should try it." His eyes narrow. "Control is for the weak, for the human. Tell me you don't feel it, the hunger. Tell me those corpses you handle satisfy what you really crave." I don't answer. I can't. "That's why I brought you the girl," he says, softer now, "to remind you, to wake you up." He gestures expansively at the city sprawled beneath us. "All this life, all this prey, and you lock yourself away. You're insane." "I'm free, and I'm not alone." His howl splits the night, an invitation and a summons. From the streets below, from adjacent rooftops, from fire escapes and water towers, they emerge, one by one, then in pairs. Werewolves. At least a dozen, in various states of transformation, some fully changed like us, others in partial forms, fur sprouting from human faces, claws extending from otherwise normal hands. "Your pack," I breathe, the implication dawning on me with horrible clarity. "Our pack," Michael corrects. "If you accept what you are, what we are." He steps closer. "New York has enough death for all of us, Marcus. Enough hunting grounds, and who better to help us hide our kills than a skilled mortician?" The others are closing in now, forming a circle around us. I scan their faces, both human and wolf, and recognize none of them. New transformations. Michael has been busy. "And if I refuse?" I ask, though I already know the answer. Michael's expression hardens. "Then you're just another territorial dispute to resolve." He flexes his claws. "Though it would be a waste. Your knowledge of death is useful." I understand now. This isn't just about territory or ideological differences about our nature. Michael is building something. A pack, yes, but more, a system. Werewolves hunting in organized patterns, using professional skills to hide their activities. The mortician to prepare bodies for burial, removing evidence. Perhaps a police officer to misdirect investigations. A pathologist to falsify reports. It's methodical, terrifying in its implications. "You're causing the very thing that will destroy us," I tell him. "Too many disappearances, too many animal attacks. Humans will notice." "Humans see what they want to see," Michael dismisses. And when they finally wake up to the predators walking among them, his muzzle twists in a grin. "We'll already be too numerous to stop." The pack moves closer, moonlight glinting off yellow eyes and bared fangs. I'm surrounded, outnumbered, with my back literally against the edge of the roof. Below, 20 stories down, late-night traffic crawls along 10th Avenue. "Last chance, Marcus," Michael says. "Join us, or join the food chain." I close my eyes briefly, feeling the beast within me fully awakened now. The hunger Michael spoke of, the predatory instinct I've kept caged for so long, surges through my transformed body. He's right about one thing. I've been denying my nature. But he's wrong about what that nature truly is. When I open my eyes, I've made my decision. I've spent 4 years with the dead, Michael, I growl, tensing for what will come. I know exactly where we all belong. I launch myself, not at Michael, but at the nearest of his pack members, a half-transmorged woman with hungry eyes. My claws find her throat before she can react. The others surge forward with howls of rage. But I'm already moving, using the woman's falling body as leverage to propel myself into their midst. What follows is chaos, blood, fury. I fight not with the controlled precision of my human profession, but with the raw savagery of the beast I've kept caged for too long. Claws tear, teeth sink into flesh. I am both predator and prey, dealing death and fighting for survival. 3 of them fall before the others force me back toward the roof's edge. Michael hangs back, watching with calculating eyes as his pack does his work. I'm bleeding from a dozen wounds, my strength flagging against their numbers. It doesn't have to end this way, he calls over the snarls and growls of battle. Your skills, your control, we need both. You need nothing, I pant, backing away from another assault. You want, there's a difference. My heel meets empty air, the edge. Nowhere left to retreat. Michael approaches now, confident in my defeat. What happens to a werewolf who falls 20 stories, I wonder? Will you heal before you hit the pavement? Or will you change back to human as you die, leaving a very puzzling corpse for your colleagues to prepare? I look past him at the blood-soaked rooftop, at the fallen pack members and those still circling, waiting for Michael's command. Then I look up at the full moon, so bright and cold above the city lights. You forgot something important about morticians, Michael, I say quietly. He tilts his head. And what's that? We're intimately familiar with death. We respect its finality. I meet his gaze steadily. And sometimes we have to decide when it's time. Before he can react, I lunge forward, not to attack, but to embrace. My claws sink into his back as my momentum carries us both over the edge of the roof. His howl of surprise turns to terror as we plummet together into the void. 20 stories. Time enough to see the shock on the remaining pack members' faces as they rush to the edge. Time enough to feel Michael struggle frantically in my grip. Time enough to accept what comes next. They say your life flashes before your eyes when you're about to die. For me, it's simpler. I see the preparation room at Manhattan Memorial, the quiet dignity of my work, the peace I've found in giving the dead their final respect. The pavement rushes up to meet us. I wake to the smell of antiseptic and the steady beep of machines. Fluorescent lights. Hospital. Impossible. A fall like that should have killed even one of my kind, yet here I am, bandaged, tubed, but alive, human again. Mr. Thorne? Can you hear me? A doctor leans into my field of vision. You're at Mount Sinai. You've been unconscious for 3 days. 3 days. The full moon cycle is over. I try to speak, but my throat feels crushed. The doctor continues. The fact that you survived it all is, well, the trauma team is calling it miraculous. You fell through an awning, then a restaurant canopy. It slowed you enough. Michael? I manage to rasp. The doctor's expression darkens. The man who fell with you didn't survive. Police are investigating what happened on that rooftop. There were other bodies found. Of course, the pack members I killed. I close my eyes processing this. When I open them again, the doctor is gone, replaced by a serious-faced detective. Mr. Thorne, I'm Detective Alvarez. When you're able. We have questions about what happened at the meatpacking plant. She pauses, studying my face. Very unusual scene. Medical examiner says the victims were torn apart by some kind of animal. Large canine, possibly, yet we found you and another man who had fallen from the roof. I say nothing, conserving strength, assessing options. Strangest thing, she continues. Me says this other man, the deceased, Michael Randall, according to his ID, had abnormalities in his bone structure, dentition and skeletal features inconsistent with normal human anatomy. She leans closer. Any idea what I'm talking about, Mr. Thorne? My heart rate increases, the monitor betraying my anxiety. We searched your apartment, she adds. Found that reinforced basement room, chains bolted to the wall. Animal hair that doesn't match any known species in our database. Her eyes never leave mine. You work at Manhattan Memorial Mortuary, correct? Preparing bodies? I nod slightly, unable to see where this is leading. Detective Alvarez glances at the door, then lowers her voice. The blood trail on that rooftop. It led from the bodies to the roof edge, to where you fell. It was unusual under luminol. She hesitates. I've been on the force 20 years, never seen blood fluoresce quite that way. She pulls her collar down slightly. There, just visible at the edge of her throat, is a scar. 3 parallel lines. Claw marks. Full moon's over now, she says quietly. But next month, Mr. Thorne, we should talk. About Michael Randall's pack. About what you did to them. About what happens next. Her eyes meet mine, and for just a moment, I catch a flash of amber. Too bright, too animal, in their depths. Rest now, Detective Alvarez says, rising. New York is safer because of what you did, but the city has more secrets than you know, more of us than you realize. She leaves, and I lie there listening to the steady beep of the heart monitor, understanding blooming with terrible clarity. Michael was right about one thing. New York has enough hunting grounds for all of us. But he was wrong about what we are. We're not just predators. We're guardians of boundaries, enforcers of limits, as much a part of nature's balance as death itself. I turn my head to look out the hospital window. The waning moon hangs visible even in daylight, a pale ghost in the blue sky. 27 days until it fills again. 27 days to heal, to prepare, and to decide what kind of monster I truly want to be. Because the dead don't mind what I am, but the living are beginning to notice. I have long suspected that man's understanding of the world is but a fragile veneer, a thin membrane stretched across an abyss of cosmic horror that would render the sanest mind gibbering and void were it glimpsed even momentarily. Yet I have been cursed to peer beyond that membrane with regularity, as predictable as the waxing and waning of that celestial harbinger that now rises, bloated and malevolent, over the Manhattan skyline. The ancient Greeks named it Selene. The Romans called her Luna. But I have come to know the full moon by another name, one that escapes conventional phonetics. A name that causes my tongue to swell and my gums to itch with anticipation when I attempt its utterance. Tonight marks the 3rd night of performances at Madison Square Garden, but it also heralds the coming of that inexorable transformation which has plagued me since that ill-fated expedition to the primordial forests of Central Africa some decades past. My dressing room, a sanctuary of modern comforts, feels increasingly confining. As the evening progresses, the walls seem to contract, to breathe with malign intent as I apply the finishing touches to my appearance. A futile ritual, given what is to come. My reflection betrays the first subtle signs of the change, pupils dilating beyond natural dimensions, incisors lengthening imperceptibly to the casual observer, but unmistakable to one who has witnessed this metamorphosis countless times before. The knock at the door startles me, though I had been expecting it. 5 minutes, Mr. Sumner, calls the stagehand, his voice muffled by the barrier between us, a barrier that increasingly strikes me as insufficiently substantial. Yes, thank you, I reply, my voice already carrying a resonance that is not entirely human. The vibration in my vocal cords feels alien, as though some ancient and terrible entity speaks through me. A sensation not dissimilar to hitting a perfect note during performance, yet perverted into something nameless and dread. I gather my lute, my bass guitar that is, Forgive the archaic terminology that increasingly infects my thoughts as the change approaches, and make my way through the labyrinthine corridors beneath the arena. The passageways remind me of certain non-Euclidean dimensions I have glimpsed during previous transformations, though I know them to be merely mundane constructions of concrete and steel, rather than the blasphemous architecture of elder worlds. The roar of the crowd reaches me before I reach the stage. 20,000 souls, unaware they share their evening with something ancient and predatory. The vibrations of their collective anticipation sends tremors through my increasingly sensitive frame. My bandmates notice nothing amiss, accustomed as they are to my pre-performance intensity. If only they knew the nature of the performance truly about to unfold. As I step onto the stage, the lights blind momentarily, and the audience's response washes over me like a wave of psychic energy. Food for the beast that stirs within. I can smell their excitement, their perspiration, the cocktail of pheromones and perfumes and intoxicants that mark them as a herd. My nostrils flare involuntarily, and I feel a tremor in my hands that has nothing to do with stage fright. The moon rises unseen above the venue, but I feel its pull as surely as the tides. We begin with Synchronicity I, an ironic choice given the cosmic disharmony about to unfold. My fingers move across the strings with practiced precision, but I am increasingly aware of the lengthening of my nails, the creaking of tendons and ligaments as they prepare for reconfiguration. The familiar lyrics spill from my lips, but beneath them, I taste copper and wildness. By the third song, sweat pours from my brow in unhealthy abundance. The audience likely perceives only the expected exertion of performance, but this perspiration carries the scent of something not entirely human. Musky, primal, a warning sign to those with senses attuned to predators. The stage lights, typically hot but tolerable, now sear my increasingly sensitive skin. Colors shift in my vision, the blues deepening to indigo, reds intensifying to crimson. Urgency. During King of Pain, the irony becomes unbearable as the first spasm racks my spine. I disguise it as a theatrical movement, a performance flourish, but the bassist to my left, a friend of many years, glances over with momentary concern. I bare my teeth in what I hope resembles a reassuring smile, though I feel the unnatural extension of canines against my lower lip. The hunger rises in concert with the pain, a gnawing, insatiable emptiness that food cannot satisfy. I have not consumed animal flesh for decades in my human form, a moral choice rendered absurd by my monthly depredations. The scent of the audience grows increasingly intoxicating. I can distinguish individual personas now. The young woman in the third row with the accelerated heartbeat. The middle-aged man near the speaker with the scent of fear-tinged excitement. The security guard whose pheromones mark him as a potential threat. As we near intermission, I know I can maintain the charade no longer. During the extended instrumental section of Moon over Bourbon Street, another cosmic jest, I signal to my bandmate that something is amiss. He nods, professional enough to continue as I stagger from the stage. The audience believes it. Part of the show, perhaps. The enigmatic frontman making a dramatic exit. The corridor leading backstage stretches before me like the throat of some leviathan creature. My vision pulses with my heartbeat, which has accelerated beyond human norms. I stumble into my private dressing room, fingers fumbling with the lock, a futile precaution, for what lock could contain the beast I am becoming? The transformation, when it fully claims me, is an experience that defies articulation in human language. Bones that should be rigid become horrifically malleable, cracking and elongating with sounds like wet branches breaking. My jaw dislocates and reforms, extending outward into a muzzle through which erupts a set of teeth designed by nature for one purpose only. My carefully maintained physique contorts, muscle fibers tearing and rebuilding in configurations that no gymnasium could produce. Most terrible is the mental transformation, the receding of decades of philosophical thought, musical theory, and ethical constraints, replaced by hunger and the thrill of the hunt. Yet, unlike the merciful obliteration of consciousness that folklore promises, I remain aware throughout. A prisoner behind bestial eyes, witnessing yet unable to prevent what follows. The last human thought I manage to form with clarity is a desperate hope that I have locked the door effectively. Then the beast rises ascendant, and I, the entity known as Sting, become merely a passenger in the vehicle of my own transfigured flesh. The creature that rises from the floor of the dressing room bears little resemblance to the musician who entered. Bipedal still, but hunched and powerful, covered in silver-gray fur that catches the light with an almost metallic sheen. The eyes, my eyes, now reflect light like twin amber moons, pupils dilated to consume the maximum illumination. My senses have expanded beyond human comprehension. I perceive ultraviolet markings on the walls, hear the heartbeats of stagehands 50 meters distant, smell the individual components of cologne worn by the security director 8 hours earlier. Most overwhelming is the cacophony of sound. The concert continues without me, some explanation undoubtedly offered to the audience. The music now sounds discordant, wrong to my transformed ears, yet the rhythm speaks to something primal within me. More enticing is the sound of the crowd, their collective heartbeat, a percussion section dedicated to my hunt. I test the door with newly transformed appendages, no longer hands, but not quite paws, bearing claws that could rend steel, and find it secure for the moment. This temporary imprisonment is fortunate. The beast desires to bound immediately into the arena, to reveal itself in spectacular carnage before the assembled masses. The vestigial human consciousness that remains, my consciousness, recoils at this impulse. Instead, I must be strategic, patient. The predator must select its prey carefully. I scent the air, catching the myriad human smells that permeate the venue. Beneath the door, a draft carries particular promise. A maintenance worker, male, approximately 50 years of age, with a circulatory condition that has him breathing heavily. As he replaces a lighting fixture in the adjacent corridor, his blood would be thinned by medication, less satisfying than younger prey, but proximity makes him tempting. The beast paces the confines of the dressing room, seeking egress. My gaze falls upon the ceiling, the removable panels of a suspended grid that connects to the ventilation system. With one powerful leap, I dislodge a panel and pull myself into the crawl space above. The maintenance tunnels and ventilation ducts of Madison Square Garden become my hunting ground. I move silently despite my bulk, navigating by scent and sound more than sight. The metal creaks ominously beneath my weight but holds. Through grates and vents, I observe the unsuspecting humans below. Stage crew hurrying to prepare for the second act. Security personnel communicating via radio about my unexplained absence. Food vendors restocking for intermission. I pass above the main arena, where my bandmates perform an instrumental piece to placate the audience. The crowd's energy rises to me in waves. Their collective effervescence, a narcotic to my sensitized perception. For a moment, the beast considers crashing through the ceiling panels, descending like a demonic deus ex machina upon the stage. What magnificent terror would erupt. But no, the human fragment that remains exerts enough influence to redirect our path toward less populated areas. The ventilation shaft opens into a secluded technical area, a perfect hunting ground. I drop down silently, claws absorbing the impact. The room houses electrical equipment, the hum of transformers masking any sound I might make. More importantly, it contains a human, a young technician, perhaps 25, with headphones covering his ears as he monitors levels on a bank of equipment. He smells of youth and health, of energy drinks and nervous perspiration. His back is to me, his attention focused on dials and readouts. The predator in me approves. This one will provide sustenance with minimal risk of raising alarm. I stalk forward on padded feet, a low growl building in my chest, inaudible beneath the mechanical hum in his music. The beast exults in the perfect setup of the hunt, the inevitable conclusion now merely seconds away. My muzzle draws back in anticipation, salivation increasing as the distance closes. 10 feet, 6 feet, 3. The technician stiffens suddenly, some primal instinct warning him of danger. He begins to turn, but far too late. The initial strike is precision itself, claws raking across the technician's upper back, not to kill, but to disable and terrify. His scream is short-lived as my transformed hand clamps over his mouth, claws pricking the skin of his cheeks in warning. I can smell the metallic tang of his blood mixing with the acrid stench of his fear, an intoxicating bouquet that causes my pupils to dilate further until my eyes are nearly black. His struggles are pathetically ineffectual against my supernatural strength. I drag him behind the bank of equipment, out of sight of the door, and force him to the ground. His eyes, wide with incomprehension and terror, reflect my transformed visage. What does he see? A nightmare given flesh, a contradiction to his understanding of natural law, the grinning death that has stalked humanity's dreams since we huddled around prehistoric fires. A distant part of me, the musician, the philosopher, the human, recoils in horror at what is about to transpire. But that part grows fainter with each passing second, drowned beneath the roaring hunger of the beast. I lean close to my prey, inhaling deeply of his terror. His heartbeat accelerates to a tempo that no drummer could maintain, a private percussion performance for my ears alone. The killing is not swift. The beast prefers to savor its dominance, to feed not just on flesh but on fear. My jaws close on his throat, applying pressure gradually, allowing him to feel each increment of increasing pain before the final, crushing bite. His blood flows hot and vital, carrying the taste of adrenaline and youth. I drink deeply, the beast gorging on what the human would find repulsive. As his struggles weaken, a curious phenomenon occurs, one I have experienced in previous transformations but never fully comprehended. His life, his memories, flash through my consciousness, as though our spirits briefly commingle at the moment of death. I glimpse his childhood in Queens, his passion for electronic music that led him to this career, the girlfriend waiting at home who will soon file a missing person report. These fragments of identity wash through me, momentarily restoring a measure of humanity to my consciousness. The remorse is crushing but fleeting. The beast surges forward again, dismissing such sentiments as irrelevant. The feeding continues until satiation begins to dull the sharper edges of hunger. When I finally rise from the cooling corpse, my muzzle and chest are matted with crimson evidence of my depredation. I must clean myself and find a secure location to weather the remainder of the night. The maintenance tunnels beckon again, a labyrinthine sanctuary where I might avoid detection until dawn brings release from this form. But as I prepare to leap back into the ceiling space, the technical room's door swings open. A security guard stands frozen in the doorway, his flashlight beam catching me in mid-crouch. For an eternal second, we regard each other, predator and potential prey in a tableau of impossible horror. His mind struggles to categorize what his eyes perceive, to reconcile my existence with his understanding of reality. I see the moment his sanity begins to fracture, the foundations of his worldview crumbling beneath the weight of my impossible existence. His hand moves toward his radio, a movement that triggers the predator's response. I launch forward with supernatural speed, covering the distance between us before his finger can press the transmit button. We collide with enough force to send us both into the corridor, his body cushioning my landing. The radio skitters across the concrete floor, momentarily forgotten as we grapple. He fights with the desperation of a man confronting extinction. A tactical baton appears in his hand, crashing against my shoulder with surprising force. Pain blossoms, but it only feeds the beast's fury. My jaws snap inches from his face as he strains to keep me at bay, the tendons in his neck standing out like cables. "What are you?" he gasps, a question that penetrates even the beast's consciousness. What indeed? An intersection of man and myth, a cosmic joke, perpetrated by forces beyond comprehension, an anomaly in the natural order? The human fragment of my mind contemplates his question even as the beast seeks his jugular. Our struggle takes us further down the corridor, away from the technical room and its damning evidence. The sounds of the concert mask our combat, the bass frequencies vibrating through the concrete providing percussion for our life and death duet. We crash into a storage area filled with musical equipment cases, toppling stacks of containers that form a maze around us. The security guard finds momentary advantage, landing a solid blow to my muzzle that sends galaxies spinning through my vision. I taste my own blood, coppery and strange. The beast howls in rage, the sound echoing in the confined space. The guard's eyes widen further at this confirmation of my otherworldliness. He scrambles backward, reaching for a fallen equipment case to use as a shield. The movement exposes his side, and I strike without hesitation, claws tearing through his uniform and the flesh beneath. His cry of pain is music of a different sort, a counterpoint to the distant concert that continues oblivious to our deadly performance. As he weakens from blood loss, the security guard makes a final, desperate attempt to reason with what he perceives as a monster. "Please," he whispers, "I have children." The word penetrates the beast's consciousness, resonating with the human fragment that remains. Children, family, connection, concepts alien to the predator but sacred to the man. For a crucial moment the balance shifts, and I, the musician, the man, resurface through the bestial consciousness. My hesitation provides the opening he needs. The guard lunges for a fire exit, leaving a trail of blood across the concrete floor. The door clangs open, emergency lighting flooding the corridor. The beast surges forward again, but too late. My prey has reached a service stairwell filled with concert staff responding to the alarm. Voices approach, multiple heartbeats. The hunt is compromised. The beast snarls in frustration, but recognizes the tactical necessity of retreat. I bound back into the shadows as shouts echo from the stairwell. The guard's voice rises above the others, hysterical and fragmented, describing a monster that no rational mind would accept as real. I hear skepticism in the responses, assumptions of hallucinatory drugs or mental breakdown, yet they will find the blood, both his and mine. And then the mangled corpse in the technical room. Evidence of my existence will soon be undeniable. I flee through the service corridors, keeping to the darkest shadows. My senses, preternaturally enhanced, guide me away from approaching security teams and toward the vast mechanical spaces that serve the arena. The concert continues overhead. I can feel the rhythmic vibrations through the structure. But backstage, a different performance unfolds as security personnel spread through the warren of support spaces. My options narrow with each passing minute. The building lockdown protocols activate, fire exits sealed, security teams deploying in widening circles from the discovery site. I can hear their radio communications, the initial skepticism transforming into grim determination as they discover the technical room and its grisly contents. The beast within pushes for further violence, to tear through any humans encountered, to feast until satiated, to revel in the chaos of revelation. The human fragment that remains exerts what influence it can, directing us toward escape rather than additional carnage. The result is an internal struggle as debilitating as physical combat, leaving me crouched behind massive air-handling equipment, trembling with conflicting imperatives. Through a high window I glimpse the moon, bloated and yellowish through the city's perpetual haze. Its light seems to pulse in rhythm with my heartbeat, a celestial conductor orchestrating my monstrous symphony. Hours remain before dawn will bring relief from this form. Hours that must be survived without discovery if the human identity I have cultivated for decades is to continue. A maintenance tunnel beckons. Narrow and dusty, likely unused during events. I force my transformed body into the confined space, fur scraping against concrete as I crawl forward on all fours, or the wall further into the mountains. The passage extends beyond my sight, promising either salvation or entrapment. I have no choice but to proceed, driven by instinct and desperation. The tunnel eventually opens into a massive water management system beneath the arena, a junction of storm drains and waste pipes that form a cathedral of infrastructure. The space reeks of damp and decay, but also offers temporary sanctuary. Standing upright once more, I survey my catwalks span the chamber, providing access to various mechanical systems. Below, dark water moves sluggishly toward distant treatment facilities. Here, in this subterranean realm, I find momentary respite. The sounds of pursuit grow distant, muffled by concrete and flowing water. My bestial form hunches over a shallow pool, confronting its reflection in the turbid liquid. The face that stares back bears no resemblance to the one adorning album covers and concert posters around the world. Elongated muzzle slick with drying blood, amber eyes reflecting light with unnatural intensity, silver-gray fur matted in places, with evidence of my transgression. For a moment, the dichotomy of my existence achieves perfect crystallization. The celebrated musician above, the monstrous predator below, separated by mere layers of concrete and the fragile membrane of human ignorance. Is this not the perfect metaphor for the duality that has defined my existence since that fateful encounter in the primordial forests where ancient tribes practiced rituals to entities whose names have been mercifully forgotten by modern man? My contemplation is interrupted by distant voices echoing through the drainage system. Maintenance workers, perhaps, or more security personnel expanding their search perimeter. I must move deeper into this lightless labyrinth, away from the arena and its concentration of potential witnesses. The beast moves with surprising agility across the narrow catwalks, leaping gaps that would give human pursuers pause. The network of tunnels branches repeatedly, offering countless paths deeper into the subterranean infrastructure of Manhattan. I choose passages instinctively, guided by scents and sounds imperceptible to human senses. Hours pass in this sunless realm. The concert above must have concluded, the audience dispersing into the night, unaware of the horror that stalked the periphery of their entertainment. My bandmates will be concerned by my unexplained disappearance, perhaps organizing private searches, even as official investigations begin into the grisly discovery backstage. Tomorrow, headlines will scream of mysterious deaths at Madison Square Garden. Theories will proliferate. Deranged fans, drug-fueled violence, even terrorism. None will approach the inconceivable truth. The first intimation of approaching dawn comes not through visual cues. Deep beneath the city streets, no natural light penetrates, but through an ineffable slackening of the moon's influence. The beast senses the imminent change, growing restless and desperate for one final kill before being submerged beneath returning humanity. I have wandered far from the arena, following the underground waterways to unfamiliar territory. Emerging from a maintenance access into the basement of an abandoned building, I find myself in a derelict structure somewhere in Manhattan's less fashionable districts. The pre-dawn stillness wraps around me like a shroud as I ascend cautiously through decaying floors toward the roof. The eastern horizon shows the first faint luminescence of approaching day. The beast howls in frustration, knowing its time wanes with each passing minute. The sound echoes across the urban canyons, a primordial cry that raises hackles on neighborhood dogs and sends cats scurrying for shelter. The transformation back to human form is no less agonizing than its predecessor, though tinged with relief rather than dread. Bones contract with audible cracks, muzzle receding into human features, claws withdrawing into fingers that have caressed bass strings before thousands of admirers. The fur recedes like a silvery tide, leaving naked human skin exposed to the cool morning air. I collapse upon the rooftop, human once more, but far from whole. The memories of the night's hunting remain vivid. The technician's terror, the security guard's desperate plea, the taste of blood and the thrill of predation. These recollections will join countless others, accumulated over decades of transformations, a gallery of horrors that my daylight mind must somehow accommodate. The sun breaks fully over the horizon, bathing my shivering form in golden light that seems to mock the darkness of my condition. I am returned to the shape that fans recognize, that peers from magazine covers and music videos, yet fundamentally altered by the night's activities in ways invisible to casual observation. My clothes are gone, shredded during the initial transformation. I am naked, vulnerable, and miles from any refuge. The practical concerns of returning to civilization without drawing attention temporarily overshadowed the existential horror of my condition. A small mercy, this mundane distraction. Fortune smiles faintly upon me. The abandoned building yields tattered curtains that can be fashioned into makeshift clothing. A discarded construction worker's boot, mismatched but serviceable, provides partial footwear. Thus minimally equipped, I begin the journey back toward humanity, both literally and figuratively. The morning news blares from televisions visible through apartment windows and storefront displays. The headline confirms my fears. Horror at the Garden. 2 dead, security guard hospitalized with claims of monster attack. The security guard survived. Then, a complication that both relieves and concerns the human aspect of my nature. I make my way through early morning streets, a disheveled figure drawing occasional glances but little sustained attention in a city accustomed to human oddity. A sympathetic diner owner, perhaps recognizing something of my former celebrity beneath the grime and improvised clothing, allows me use of a telephone. My call is answered by a member of my management team, their voice oscillating between relief at my survival and concern regarding my unexplained disappearance during a sold-out performance. I manufacture an explanation involving disorientation, temporary amnesia, perhaps a drugged beverage. A story with sufficient holes to raise eyebrows, but plausible enough to forestall immediate suspicion. Within the hour, a nondescript vehicle retrieves me from an agreed-upon location. The driver asks no questions, having likely handled similar situations for other celebrities experiencing episodes. Clean clothes await me in the back seat, along with water and pharmaceuticals that might legitimately be prescribed for the breakdown I am pretending to have suffered. As we drive toward a private medical facility where my story will be appropriately documented and sanitized, I stare out the window at the city returning to life. Pedestrians move with purpose, unaware that they share their metropolis with something ancient and predatory. How many other entities might walk among them, wearing human guises that conceal eldritch realities? The radio plays softly in the front compartment, news of the Madison Square Garden incident, interspersed with speculation and, ironically, one of my own compositions. The juxtaposition of my public art with my private monstrosity produces a sensation akin to vertigo. The security guard is reported to be in stable condition, though his claims of a werewolf-like creature are being attributed to trauma and blood loss. The technician's family has been notified of his death. These clinical announcements mask incalculable grief and horror, ripples spreading outward from the stone I have cast into the pool of humanity. 1 month hence, I stand before my bathroom mirror, examining features that millions would recognize instantly. The face appears unchanged, perhaps slightly more gaunt, with newly prominent shadows beneath the eyes that speak of troubled sleep. No physical evidence remains of my transformation and subsequent predation. Yet I am changed fundamentally. Each cycle of the moon exacts its cumulative toll not merely upon the body, but upon the soul, if such an antiquated concept has meaning, in a universe far colder and more indifferent than most humans dare contemplate. The investigation into the Madison Square Garden incident continues, though media attention has largely moved on to fresher tragedies. My brief hospitalization for exhaustion and stress provided adequate explanation for my disappearance during the concert. The connection between that disappearance and the killings remains a tenuous theory in the minds of a few dedicated detectives. But without evidence linking the celebrated musician to bestial violence, the investigation stalls. Tonight, I must perform again, a rescheduled appearance that my management insisted upon to quell rumors and demonstrate recovery. The venue is smaller, the security more robust. The moon, critically, is waning. Its power insufficient to trigger transformation, but strong enough to flood my consciousness with unwelcome memories and urges. As I prepare for the performance, applying stage makeup that feels like a more profound disguise than my monthly fur and fangs, I contemplate the cosmic jest that my life has become. I sing lyrics of human connection and spiritual awakening, while harboring knowledge of primal savagery that would shatter my listeners' concept of reality. I champion environmental and humanitarian causes while periodically becoming the ultimate predator of humanity. The irony would be laughable were it not so profoundly horrifying. I have sought cures, of course. Specialists in obscure mythologies, practitioners of esoteric arts, rejected by conventional science, even expeditions to the source of my affliction in hopes of discovering some ritual of reversal. All have proven fruitless. The curse, for lack of a scientific terminology for my condition, appears irreversible, a permanent addition to my genetic and spiritual architecture. The limo arrives to transport me to the venue. My bandmates greet me with careful concern, their questions about my health carrying undertones of deeper curiosity regarding my unexplained absence and subsequent hospitalization. I offer reassurances that ring hollow even to my ears, but they accept them with the practiced grace of long professional association. The audience cheers as I take the stage, their adoration untainted by knowledge of what they truly acclaim. I perform with technical precision, if not authentic passion, each note and lyric a further reinforcement of the elaborate facade I have constructed. The more enthusiastic their response, the more profound my isolation becomes. During a particularly energetic number, I catch sight of a security guard stationed at the edge of the stage, not the one from Madison Square Garden, but similar in build and demeanor. For a disorienting moment I see him not as he is, but as the beast would perceive him. Heat signature pulsing with each heartbeat, scent glands releasing imperceptible markers of identity, jugular vein throbbing with life-sustaining fluid beneath thin layers of vulnerable tissue. I falter momentarily, missing a note that perhaps only the most dedicated fans would notice. The security guard's gaze meets mine, and though he cannot possibly know the nature of my thoughts, something in my expression causes him to straighten, to adopt a more alert posture. Prey, recognizing predator, on some subconscious level. The concert concludes without further incident. I decline the customary after-show celebrations, retreating to the isolation of a hotel suite, where I can contemplate the waxing moon visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. In less than 2 weeks, it will achieve fullness again, and the cycle will continue. The transformation, the hunt, the killing, the return to humanity with memories that would shatter a lesser mind. Or perhaps not. Perhaps this time I will surrender fully to the beast, relinquishing the exhausting charade of humanity. Perhaps I will bound onto the stage mid-transformation, revealing to thousands of witnesses the true nature of their musical idol. What cosmic revelation might this precipitate? What fundamental recalibration of humanity's understanding of reality might follow? The thought produces a smile that would unnerve any who witnessed it. I turn from the window and begin composing, not music, but a document detailing my condition, my experiences, the truth behind certain unsolved disappearances across continents and decades. Whether confession, scientific record, or simply the unburdening of a tormented soul, I cannot say. The moon watches impassively through the window, its light illuminating the page as I write. In its cold radiance, I recognize both jailer and liberator, the celestial key that unlocks the beast within, while simultaneously freeing me from the constraints of human morality and limitation. I am Sting, celebrated musician, environmental activist, tantric practitioner. I am also the silver hunter, the midnight predator, the moon's emissary among unsuspecting prey. I contain multitudes, and they devour one another endlessly. The pen moves across paper as the moon continues its eternal transit. The concert never truly ends, only the audience changes. And somewhere deep within, the beast waits patiently for its next moment upon the stage.